All right. Well, I guess you want to get into this?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. I don't know. I look a little crazy, but that's okay. All right. Drink some water, actually.
Yeah, I should drink some water too, but I'm just gonna pour some whiskey instead.
Fuck yeah. That's how men do it.
The straight up, there's water in this shit. Just put it in some wood. Fuck.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Doing good, dude. Just living life. Another week of waivers going through. Feeling good
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I always say you lose 100% of the fab you don't spend. So here we go.
I'm learning
How are you
that,
doing,
and
Christian?
I'm doing pretty well. The D League, I'm pretty much out of money there already this week
You're
too.
not alone.
So, hell yeah, I appreciate it. I made 7 waiver claims. I didn't get all of them, but I did make them. A few of them we'll talk about in the near
Hey,
future. A little spoiler alert for you. Um,
little
yeah, I'm
teaser.
doing good, man. We're in the swing of it. It's really starting to feel like the season. Jordan Love might even play. He's practicing. Like
Yeah.
it's getting crazy.
You
Uh,
headed there this weekend for the game?
no.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
that was the plan. That was the plan. I was gonna knock Nashville off the list. I was gonna meet a friend of the pod, Clint, in the For the Belt League. But man, I couldn't be spending no $600-700 to go hang out for 2 days. I just couldn't
Yeah.
do it, and the prices were just getting crazy. Like I thought they would come down, and maybe I waited too long, whatever. But I couldn't do it. I just had to spend some money on school books and stuff too. Like it just
Life, dude. Just hit snooze, man. We'll
yeah,
rally.
yeah.
We'll get the numbers up.
Yeah, and I was planning on maybe going to Lambeau again this year, so I wanted to save some money for like it just I don't know. It just didn't make sense. I feel like when I got it was gonna be awesome and it was gonna be cool to see
Yeah.
Clint and it was gonna be a good time, but man, I feel like when I got back I just would have been like shit.
Yep, yep. Yep, I hear
So
you. Been there.
so I had
Well,
to
that's
bail.
cool. You'll definitely you'll knock that one off the list. Just gotta
Sooner rather than later, for sure. It would have been cool to see the pack there, especially with the whole 4 year thing. I'm almost
yeah.
talking myself into it now, but enough
See you
about
there.
my plans and failed plans and everything else. Because we're back. It's week
We're
two.
back.
We're gonna hit you with our week 2 review, or however you want to do it, and look forward to some week 3 stuff as well. So we're gonna have some new segments today. I will let Daniel introduce those as we come up. But as ever during the year, we are going to start you with the good old rookie roundup. Just like last week, if you were with us or if you haven't been with us, I'm going to talk about,
Welcome.
yeah, welcome in. Hopefully you stick around. I am gonna talk about some rookies, only rookies for this segment, and divide them into kind of categories that we will discuss. The first category being the injured slash inactive. This one actually got shorter this week, which is always good.
Ooh.
So we've got Rashia Lee still on IR with a neck, Jonathan Brooks still on PUP, obviously. Audric Estime got added to IR with an ankle injury, so that's a bummer, especially no for Daniel. And
Yeah.
then Devon Villay, the 26-year-old rookie, was out with rib injury. So those are pretty much the only injured slash inactive guys, other than Marshawn Lloyd, who we're going to talk about in a second, but he got added to IR as well. So that's
Okay.
pretty unfortunate. So he's at least out a few games, but he did see his first action this week, so I wanted to talk about him later. So the first or then second category we're going to hit you with is the clear backup category. These are guys that got less than 25% of the snap share. So we're talking about Tyrone Tracy, Carson Steele. Obviously, Pacheco injury might affect that a little bit. We got Jermaine Burton, only had 16% snaps, but he did catch a 47-yard pass, looked pretty good. Malachi Corley got a target this week. Ben
Hey,
Sinnott, Michael Penix Jr., and Drake May. And we have some new additions to the clear backup category. We had Jalen Wright make
yeah,
his appearance, 24% snap share, only 5 attempts, 4 yards, so not amazing, but it was good to see him out there. Like I said, Marshawn Lloyd, 14% snap share, 6 attempts, 15 yards. Looked like he had some juice, and it was nice to see. Didn't really get all too going, especially we ran the ball a million times against the Colts. So it was kind of sad to see him not get more involved or at least have bigger runs. And then obviously a heartbreaker to see him going on the injury report. Blake Corum is added in here, 15% snap share, 8 attempts, 28 yards. So pretty decent little effectiveness. I honestly just forgot to add him last week, so that's on me. Sion Vakai, 5%, one target, had a 17-yard catch. And then Javon Baker got activated or like non-coach decision, so he actually played in the game this week. So only 9%, big old goose egg on any sort of production, but at least he got on the field this week. Any notes you want to take before I move to the next one?
nope.
Okay, perfect. So we're getting into the real juice of it with the two next categories. We got the promising usage category, and then followed by possible studs. So promising usage, talk about Bucky Irving real quick. Only had 2 points this week, but he still had 35% snap share, was not as effective, 7 attempts for 22 yards. No receiving work, which is weird, but Rashad White's dealing with an injury as well. So maybe we'll see a little bit of more of him. Braylon Allen, just to spite me and everything I said about him in the offseason, gets added to the promising usage. He got 20
Promising
points this
usage.
week. 20 points this week, 35% snap share, 7 attempts, 33 yards, a touchdown, and 2 catches for 23 yards and a touchdown. Um, I hate that he's vulturing touchdowns away from Brees Hall. That sucks.
Nah, let it
But
be.
Aaron Rodgers was talking about him on the podcast, saying they're both going to be playmakers for him. So it seems like Allen is in line for a pretty decent role here. And I mean, I'm for it in terms of like, I love seeing kids do well in the NFL. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It was interesting to see him out there, though. I don't think he scores 2 touchdowns every week, not on 35% snap share, but I feel like he earned more snaps
Yeah, of course he did. I mean, what do they say is the youngest player to
in
score
the Super Bowl era, I think.
yeah, a receiving and a rushing touchdown in the same game. So,
Yeah.
hey man, I don't want to jinx it. Yeah, between him and Bucky, I'm feeling pretty good about my off-season research so far.
Yeah, you are. You're looking pretty good. Moving on to the next guy, also new addition here, Ray Davis.
Hey,
31% snaps, 9 attempts, 29 yards, and a target. Um, and yeah, decent amount of touches, and he's just above 20, that 25% line. So I felt like adding him. Trey Benson, only not super effective, but he was on the field for 33% of the snaps and he had 11 attempts. The problem is he got zero point 0.9 yards per carry. So that's not what you want to see, 11 attempts for 10 yards, but they are using him. So that it seems like they're going to start trying to work him in. But on a day where the offense was fairly dominant, it's kind of sucks to see him have such middling stats here. Next up, Jalen Polk, 60% share, got his first touchdown. Not a ton of
yeah.
usage, only 3 targets, but hey, it's good to see him get a touchdown. Luke McCaffrey, 56% of the snaps. Big old goose egg in production though, but hey, still on the field a decent amount. On the field a lot, 91% of the snap share, Keon Coleman, but only one
Whoa.
target for
Yeah.
nothing.
Uh-uh.
And in a game when the Bills scored 30 points. So that's also not good. I don't love that. But James Cook was just absolutely destroying the Dolphins, so maybe more of a kind of game script thing and how it went. Xavier Legette has 42% of the snap share. Big old goose egg on the production. Bryce Young, yikes, got
You're
benched this
out.
week. We'll see if he can have a resurgence like some of these other quarterbacks that we're seeing. But as for
No.
now, it's tough to look at. And so maybe Andy Dalton can help Leggett out, but he's on the field a decent amount, but just no production really yet. Jalen McMillan is on the field all the time, not really getting a ton of targets, which I think we would have figured for the third receiver in Tampa with how good Chris Godwin and Mike Evans is. But it's still nice to see him have 79% of the snap share. And it seems like he's catching some deep balls. One catch, 21 yards, and he had the long touchdown last week. So it seems like he's finding a role here. Romo Dunze, probably the biggest name wide receiver still in the promising usage category because he was on the field for 94% of the snaps. Caleb Williams is having trouble finding that rhythm yet, it seems like. And it kind of sucks with Keenan Allen out of the game that we didn't see a bigger game from Romo Dunze when some of the other receivers we'll talk about, rookies, kind of destroyed the world today. But 5 targets, 2 catches, 33 yards. He had a target in the end zone where he just barely missed it with his fingertips, which you'd love to see him come down with that, but is what it is. Moving on to tight ends. Jatavion Sanders is on the field for 50% of the snaps, only 8 yards on 2 receptions. Bryce Young is yikes. Theo Johnson on the field for 79% of the snaps, big old goose egg. So nothing to really talk about there. Eric All is a new addition to the promising usage category at tight end, though. However, 7 points, 52% of the snap share, and 4 targets from Joey B. Now they were going crazy with them tight ends against Kansas City with
Gonna
T. Higgins
say.
being out and uh just them not really being able to get the ball rolling really on offense yet. But it was still nice to see him, and I feel like he at least deserves to be thrown in here. Anything there you want to touch on?
No, that was cool to see all in there. But like you're saying, man, Mike Gesicki coming out as like
Hmm.
the golden waiver tight end all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of a funny thing. That was an interesting game. But no, man, it was great to see some good pop finally coming out of some of these rookies. So I'm with you.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see who bounces around these categories over the next coming weeks. Because now we're getting into the fun stuff, the possible studs category. And our first guy from last week in this category, Xavier Worthy, uh, didn't have as big of a game this week. 4 points fantasy wise, 68% snaps, 4 targets, 17 yards, 2 catches. Kind of what I've been saying all offseason was that he is this boomer bust guy. And I just think that's going to continue to be the case. But we've seen it. We've seen his electricity on the field, and we've seen them already use him in effective ways. So I'm sure it'll happen. It's just I feel like he might be a little more frustrating than some of these other guys for fantasy owners. Lad McConkey, I still have in possible studs. He didn't have a very good game either. 2 catches, 26 yards, and under 50% of the snap share. Now, the Chargers did get up early and started running J.K. Dobbins into the ground, but that is kind of the fear with the Jim Harbaugh offense. But Lad did have a great game in week 1 and looks a little spicy, so I kept him here. Brian Thomas Jr. had one large catch and then was relatively quiet. But that catch shows off exactly why they brought him in. The deep, I think it was 70 something yards, and he caught it in stride from Trevor Lawrence. That's exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And he had 4 targets in the game. It just felt like the chart or the Jags offense just really couldn't get anything going against the Browns. So I kept him here as well. I feel like he is going to end up being Trevor Lawrence's number 1 guy. I haven't really heard much of Gabe Davis. Christian Kirk has been a non-factor so far. So it really does feel like this is heating up for Brian Thomas Jr. to be the guy. But now we're getting into some real fun territory because we had 2 rookies who went really, really off. And Marvin Harrison Jr. was not on the promise and usage tier for long with 29 fantasy points this week, 70% snap share, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 2 beautiful touchdowns
Dude,
for
those
different
touchdowns.
reasons. Yeah, man. The toe
Ghost
drag
toes.
swag on in
Yeah.
the back of the end zone, and then just the in stride. Like he didn't look slow on that 70-yard bomb, so Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. looked the part this week. I think he lulled people to sleep last week, and maybe there's a little more traction that needs to be had, but he showed off why he was such a high thought of prospect this week.
Well, it takes a week to get used to the ball not having the
Yeah,
lines on it, the
that's
strips.
right.
So we all remember that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Malik Neighbors decided not to be overshadowed by Marvin Harrison Jr., though.
Yeah, yeah.
Also 29 points. I think Marvin Harrison technically beat him. They both, I think it was like point something or whatever. But Neighbors was on the field for 89% of the snaps, 10 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown on 18 targets. And that was what I was banging the drum on all offseason as well, is that I don't care how shitty Malik Neighbors' targets are. If he's getting 18 of them, he's bound to pull in a decent amount of them. And he showed that today, looked 100%, or not today, Sunday, looked 100% the part of a true superstar wide receiver one that can change the Giants offense. And I think to me, that was just getting the ball rolling on his rookie year. And if these quarterbacks don't start heating up, we really could be looking at Malik Neighbors the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. Or Marvin Harrison. I
Or Marvin
mean,
Harrison. I mean, you're right. The Arizona offense did look absolutely incredible.
yeah,
But I'm just looking at the 18 to 8 targets and thinking like
yeah,
there's just other places that Kyler can go, and there's
that's
not
true,
a
man.
lot for Daniel Jones. But we will
Yeah,
see. I think we're gonna have an electric year out of both these guys, though.
I know, man. It'd be a great week to roll right into top 12 wide receivers, but we're not doing that.
Oh,
We would
well,
never do that.
no,
Oh,
no, we don't. But I got a couple more. Sorry, I've been taking a minute, but I can roll through it. Because Brock Bowers, we got to
oh
talk
yeah.
about.
Shit,
Brock
of course.
Bowers, 19 fantasy points with no touchdown for a tight end seems absurd to me. 9 targets, 9 receptions, 98 yards. And I mean, damn, man, he is just getting open exactly like the way he was in college. He seemed unguardable for the Ravens, who are a great defense. Or at least coming into the season, we thought they were a great defense.
Yeah.
And he just anytime they wanted to get him the ball, they did. And there was almost no stopping it. Like once or twice, I feel like he only gained a yard. And he just is a difference maker. They're using him in a lot of different ways, and you can tell that they have structured this offense to use him all the time. And I think, honestly, and maybe I know you were kind of low on his rookie season, but is he a weekly start at this point?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
back
a
to
lot.
back top 3 weeks.
Yeah, I can't he's getting the absolute usage, 68% snap share. And I feel like a lot of people are gonna feel silly about not taking him earlier in rookie drafts. I mean, I got him in the second in one of our leagues. It was a 10-person league, obviously, but that still seems crazy looking at it right now.
Yeah, that is nuts. I mean, in the second, I feel like did I take several players before him in that draft? Probably. Probably, yeah. That's just how it's going to be. You can't win them all. But I don't know. Yeah, Bowers is 100% unlocked and unlimited. Now it's getting weird. So,
All
anyway,
right. Well, let me hit you with the rookie quarterback review, and then we will get into our top 12, like you hit up just a second ago.
yes, sir.
So Jaden Daniels looking like the best rookie quarterback right now, 23 of 29 for 226 yards, no touchdowns, 10 carries, 44 yards in the Commanders' first win, right? They won this week.
Yeah.
So that's great for Jaden Daniels. Kind of exactly what you were saying all offseason is that he would be hit the ball rolling as a passer. And it's not quite unlocked. There's not a massive amount of talent, I would say, on the Commanders.
No.
So it's going to be hard to really get going, but it's promising stuff that we're seeing from Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, I'm telling you, I guess it's gonna be an Austin Eckler thing. They're just like, come on, come on, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Caleb Williams not looking so hot 2 weeks in a row. 2 picks in this game. The offensive line, something I mentioned about the Bears, and it seems like it's eating them alive right now. is just he was pressured constantly in this game. And I think he's quickly learning that the hero ball stuff that works in the Pac-12 when you're scrambling around, he has the arm and he has the ability to throw on the run, but the players are just better in the NFL. And so I don't think it's not working as well. And maybe I still believe in Caleb Williams, unfortunately, as a Packers fan. So I do think he will get the ball rolling at some point. But so far, not so hot.
Yeah, yeah, that extra 2 seconds doesn't really do as much in the NFL as it does in the college years, but I mean, I don't think anyone should give up on this
Oh
guy.
no, gosh no.
He's got yeah, he's got a lot of potential, so
Yeah,
obviously just gonna roll
absolutely.
with it. That was crazy
Um,
though. I was surprised that game was so low scoring. Houston,
yeah,
come on now.
right. Houston didn't come alive in there. I mean, the Bears defense is pretty legit. So, and so
Yeah,
is Houston's
apparently.
apparently. One more to get to, and I'm sorry for taking so much of the time for the
No,
roundup,
dude,
but
we're in it.
the Bo Nix of it all has to be addressed because this was a guy that I was out on coming into the season. He's come up against two stout defenses, to be absolutely fair, but not looked great in back-to-back weeks. Picking the end zone this week, staring down the defender pretty hard. Um, Another pick to end the game late. Um, yeah, I mean, this offense just looks kind of exactly like it did under Russell Wilson. Like Bo Nix has more juice and can move. But there's not a lot going on, and now he's not playing third stringers in preseason. These short passes that he's trying to get accomplished are just getting eaten alive by these defenders. Now, maybe if he starts playing some softer defenses and getting to the better part of the schedule, maybe he can get something worked out. But I believe they play the Buccaneers this week, who are a good team. So I think it's one more week where Bo Nix is going to get thrown to the Wolves and start up your Anton Winfields, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be a good call. He's definitely going to get roasted the next. He's got the Jets after that. It doesn't look
Mhm.
good. It's got a rough draw. But hey, he got over 150 yards,
That's
so
true. That is
we're
true.
gonna we're
100%.
gonna call that a arrow up. Jeez, I'm telling you, I mean, this guy throw a pair of touchdowns and he'd be top 12 quarterback. So
I
let's
guess
get
that's
there,
fair. You never
Uh,
know. Maybe I'm too
yeesh.
harsh. But
No.
that is your rookie roundup, and I think this is going to get progressively shorter. I'm going to start cutting out some names that don't need to be talked about as often, but I'm trying to hit as many in the beginning of the season as I can. That way we don't leave anybody out. But you led us into it earlier. So which top 12 are we hitting this week?
We're going with the running backs, man. I apologize for misinterpreting a pause moment there,
No,
but
you're good.
as we're gonna do on a weekly spot, we're gonna go through all of the positions, the skill positions, and possibly some IDP action throughout the season, different position each week, and look at the top 12 guys. You know, throw out a few outliers, and then look at like a rolling average as we go through.
Hmm,
Um, so it's only 2 weeks in, and your top 12 running backs. I don't know how surprising it is, but number one is Alvin Kamara.
good
What's up?
Lord.
Got to do what you got to do. Then Devon Achan,
Hmm,
yes, of course. Saquon Barkley's number three. J.K. Dobbins, like
what the
that's
hell?
insane. Yeah, congrats, dude.
Yeah.
Brees Hall, number five. That's got to feel good for certain folks.
Hmm,
James Cook, obviously, he's just stealing into this one with that 3 touchdown game from last week. You got Jordan Mason at number seven.
uh,
And so he's the first guy on this is the season top 12. This is the first guy that didn't make the top 12 in week two. So he's still holding over from that awesome week one.
gotcha.
Um, then James Conner coming back to back top 12 to get him in the as the RB8. Then Ramondre really living off of that week one performance. Jameer Gibbs back to back top 12s at the running back 10. So, you know, might be top 12, but he's not really top. But Joe Mixon's number 11 and Tony Pollard.
Ugh.
So yeah, and Gibbs wasn't he wasn't in the top 12 week one. So I guess I'm crazy. So yeah, week one really kept some guys alive.
Hmm.
But your continuity is Barkley, Connor, Dobbins, and then A Chain and Kamara. So those are the guys that have done it both weeks in a row. Pretty impressive. Some crazy names, man. I don't know, just initial reaction to looking at this list now that we know some of these guys aren't a fluke.
Yeah.
Um, wow. J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins, dude.
J.K. Dobbins is the biggest outlier, not outlier, but surprise here for sure. I mean, all the Gus Edwards hype in the offseason seems to go nowhere. And Dobbins, I mean, him coming out of Ohio State, people were this excited about him. And so, like, it's good to see him here. I'm sad that I was out. Probably could have bought him pretty cheap. And now there's no way that you can do that.
No.
Kamara just still doing things the way that he's doing them, is insane. Another guy you probably could have bought fairly cheap in the offseason. And here in the dynasty world, we get excited about guys like Kendre Miller, who we've n not heard of
Uh-huh.
since draft day, and Kamara's just the RB1. And then another big one for me, the Tony Pollard of it all. I mean, I was pretty adamant about Tajay Spears, and it looks so far like I've made a pretty big whiff there. Tony Pollard looks good. They also are just straight up using him more. All the coach speak about 50-50 splits was apparently nonsense because Tajay didn't even get 50 in week one, and then it dropped to 33 in week two. Now he is dealing with a bit of an injury. But yeah, man, Tony Pollard looks like he was more back to where he was in Dallas.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of I don't know. I'd love to be out on Tony Pollard. I don't know why, but yeah, 1,300 all-purpose yards last year. Kind of
Mhm.
flew under the radar after bouncing back from that injury, and he's definitely kind of looking like a little bit of that dude. So we'll see how it shakes out in the long run. This team's still figuring stuff out. Kind of a step in the right direction last week, but yeah, Alvin Kamara, man, he's owning this list purely, I mean, not purely, but mostly off of 5 touchdowns. Like we're
Yeah,
doing pretty good here.
pretty
Um,
wild.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how he does it. But the rest of this list, guys with more than 2 touchdowns, it's just Saquon coming off of, that one game, week
Hmm.
one. And then James Cook, which was also a single game performance with those 3 touchdowns. So it's kind of anybody's game. The rest of these guys are all doing 2 touchdowns, except for Gibbs, Mixon, and Pollard only have one. So that's kind of explaining why they're at the 10, 11, and 12. A lot of it is touchdown based, but just from PPR, this is all PPR. That's
Hmm.
basically, I think that's all the kids are into now. So we're gonna stick with that. So highlighting that, I wanted to get into a little bit of the receiving work when it comes to these guys.
Yeah.
And I did a little ratio thing. I love doing ratios. So I've got a ratio to like attempts to receptions, and just looking at the top 10 guys that are 5 attempts to each reception. These guys are doing pretty well. You've got like Kamara, Achan, Brees Hall, and then Jameer Gibbs and Tony Pollard kind of being heavily targeted with A-Chain Hall and Gibbs all having over 10 receptions already, which is pretty incredible when you consider, there's a lot of top end wide receivers that haven't hit the 14 catches that Achan has. So
Hmm.
that's kind of tipping them in the right direction. But one thing I bring all this up to look at some of these other guys that aren't following suit on this, and especially if you look at the yardage, we've got 3 guys on this list with under 15 receiving yards, including J.K. Dobbins only has four,
Mm.
uh, with only two or yeah, 4 receptions for 4 yards. Jordan Mason only has 2 catches on the year, which I kind of got blown away by. And then you've got Ramondre, who only has 15 receiving yards. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like, I don't know, people are saying it. I'm hearing it. They're talking about the run game is back a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you look at these guys that are able to, to pull off these top 12, through week two performances with basically, nothing going on in the receiving game, it's pretty stout. Four of these guys are over 200 yards on the ground, being Saquon, Dobbins, obviously, Mason, and Stevenson. So, we're getting more of a balanced kind of showing between the rushing game and the receiving running backs. So that's pretty cool. And then, you can't beat Alvin Kamara, who's king in this world. Seven receptions is kind of a low number when you consider how he did last year, but he's got 92 receiving yards, which is
Mm.
only behind A-Chan's 145, which
Jesus.
makes A-Chan the only guy on this list that has more receiving yards than rushing yards. So
Hmm.
just yeah, a couple tidbits. Obviously, impressed with Gibbs and Pollard. They've got a pretty good balance, a lot of receiving game work, and James Cook as well. And then Brees Hall, yeah, he's doing pretty well too. So I don't know. The Kings, the household names are still doing it through the air, but there's a chance for these ground guys to hold their own. And I like to see that personally.
No, I do too. It makes me wish Nick Chubb had never got hurt because it'd be cool to
Oh,
see him
he
in
was born for
this.
this shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where, I mean, he held down the role of the only viable Russian guy for a while, pure Russian guy for a while. And well, Derrick Henry, I guess.
Hmm.
So there's two or three. But um James Conner. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, it's good to see. It'll be interesting to see if this remains and keeps going forward. We know this is a position that deals with a lot of injuries and stuff, but man, it's exciting stuff. I think that's a nice little bow on it, to be honest. I think you wrapped us up pretty nicely there. So do you want to get into some IDP stuff today?
I do. I do.
Okay.
And I'm very excited. I have to admit, first of all, that I'm still figuring out IDP. I haven't done an IDP league in a while, and I'm getting back into it. And, the folks laughing at my waiver pickup. So I'm bidding against nobody and just having the time of my life because I'm getting all of my claims. But yes, it's still a work in progress. So for me, this is more, learning for my own use as it is analysis. So
Mm,
I'm excited to talk about these guys. It's just an IDP moment. I'm going to go through top five guys, and then we've got a couple of little tidbits to throw in there. So if that's cool with you, I'll just hit
yeah.
the top five names.
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay, D line. We got, usual suspects with Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And
Jesus
then
Christ.
yeah, 69. He's the number one IDP player on the season. So he's doing well. I think he's got 6 sacks. So
Yeah, 4.5 sacks in a game will do that.
yeah, that's nuts. So
50
and then
points. Good Lord.
yeah, it's yeah, I don't even know. I'm glad I wasn't playing against him last week, but
Yeah, I
you
was.
got
It
yeah,
sucked.
did you still won though?
No,
Oh, okay, you got
no, I
rolled.
did
Yep,
not.
that'll happen. Oh man, I cannot keep up. I'm getting in my groove with the checking all the fantasy stuff still.
Yeah, it's
But
tough.
man, so Keon White is
Mm,
number two in the D line, and that kind of surprised me a little bit. Kind of came out of nowhere
hmm.
personally, um, but good for him. We got Max Crosby, number three. Not a big surprise there.
Nope.
And then Pat Jones, the Vikings.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, I picked him up. Hey,
nice
back to
job.
back weeks. There's some good consistency. He's got 4 sacks through the year, so
Yeah,
not looking for that to be like 2 sacks per game for the rest of the year. That would be
that would
a
be
record.
absurd. Yeah,
Yeah,
by a
some good
lot.
stuff. Yeah. So, but it's good to see that.
Hmm.
A lot of Vikings really on this list, but Gregory Russo rounds out the top five in the D line.
Cool. Yep,
And then
great player. Was super.
uh,
I wanted him in the startup IDP draft, and I did not get him.
yeah, he's been a hot name for a while. He's kind of
Mm.
really coming into his own. I think,
Some of these D line guys take a little bit, it seems like.
yeah. But I was impressed, doing our offseason analysis. It was like D-line was kind of an afterthought almost.
Hmm.
But so far, man, they're holding down four of the top five positions, if I'm not crazy. Um, just looking, and it's all been sack based. So these
Yeah.
guys are really getting their sacks in. And I think we're trusting some lower quality, younger, kind of wild card quarterbacks here this year
Hmm.
than we're used to seeing. So maybe that speaks to D line getting a bump there. But it's been impressive. The linebackers are trying their best to hold their own, and this one really is kind of top three are pretty ironclad. You got Fred Warner, number one.
Mm.
You got Zach Bond, two. Eric Kendricks at three. And then Blake Cashman, a little bit of a surprising name for
Yeah.
me. And then Robert Spillane. So also a bit of a surprising name, but
Hmm.
I think linebackers are going to heat up. The tackle numbers are probably going to skyrocket pretty quick
Hmm.
as everyone gets a little worn in to the year. Um, so yeah, if you got anything cool to say about these linebackers,
I mean, Fred Warner, just always a beast. It's criminally underrated. Zach Bond, if he hasn't been picked up in your league, you should go get him. I think he was only, uh, spoiler alert, I'm doing some waiver pickups, and one of my stipulations is that they couldn't be 30% rostered, and Zach Bond is just above that, hovering around
mm,
40%. So there are some leagues that don't, he's not been picked up yet. So please go do that. He is clearly going to be used in that offense. I know that they have some people coming back from injury, but I don't know. I think he's earned a role there.
yeah, I'd say that's a for sure. Yeah, I missed out on the couple of good pickups this week, but anyway, as long as you get the good ones, we can still talk about it. But all right, getting into the DBs, which they have some poppy numbers,
Hmm.
but consistency wise, they are a lower ranking group.
Yep.
So yeah, you got Alontae Taylor, Saints. He's number one by a pretty good margin. With Julian Love at number two. I'm excited to see Brian Branch's name here at number three.
Oh,
I
oh,
don't know
oh.
why specifically, not a huge Lions guy or an Alabama dude, but it's good to see young guys doing well. You don't
Hmm.
always see it, especially as defensive backs. So good for him. And then you got Jesse Bates at number four. He had a pretty awesome game on Monday um, to help out the Falcons, but rounded out with Nick Cross at number five, who is leading the NFL in tackles with 29, the five tackle buffer. So doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll help you for sure.
Yeah, Brian Branch looks awesome. He was a target of mine in the startup IDP draft. It was a dynasty draft, so I made sure to leave with him, and I am very happy with the results so far. Yeah, Alontae Taylor is a nickelback, which usually is up and down, but he does have a decent amount of tackles, 15 through 2 games. And he had 3 sacks in week one. So he's kind of a versatile player. I think he might be able to hang in the top five here, or at least like top 10, as a nickelback, which should be pretty interesting. And then the rest of these guys, I mean, they're safeties with high tackle numbers and chances at the ball. So that's who
Right.
you want to go for.
Well, in the true RDR fashion, I made up a position that's not actually rostered, like as
Yep.
a starting position,
Hell yeah, you
and
did.
we slotted in the edge guys.
Yep.
And they're getting a weak start, man. As a
Hmm.
position group, they're not necessarily
They're not heating
popping
up.
off
Mm-mm.
like we were anticipating. But you got Alex Van Ginkel, number one,
Hmm.
pick six in week one,
Always real
really.
solid.
Yeah, dude, and looking strong. Harold Landry, number two. I don't know if you guys remember back when I was touting Harold Landry, but he's coming through for the Titans and me. So
Nice.
3 sacks will help you out in that department. And then you
Hmm.
got TJ Watt, obviously is what it is, and Adufe Owa. coming at
Adafe
you.
Owe.
Damn it, dude. Every time. That's why. That's why
You're
I defer
good.
to your expertise. Number four. And then Will McDonald. Can't mess that name up.
Yep.
Coming in at number five. So
Yeah, I think it's worth noting TJ Watt had like three strip sack fumbles taken away by penalties in week one. So
yeah.
he should be probably hitting around like, I don't know if he'd be around the Aiden Hutchinson number, but he'd certainly be in the 50s already. Um, so that's worth noting. Like you said, Harold Landry, one of the stalwarts of the Titans, right? He's still on the Titans. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I was about to say it'd be weird if he left. Always consistent, so it's good to see him up in here. And the Will McDonald actually leads us pretty perfectly into me going into some potential waiver claims, because one of the guys I had, Will McDonald, only rostered in 20% of sleeper IDP leagues. He was a first round pick a year ago, and the Jets need him to be good with the pass rush. They already were missing Hassan Reddick, have been trying to get the pass rush going for years. And now Tremaine Johnson is injured, who's arguably like one of their best up and coming defensive players. So that leaves a huge hole. And Will McDonald had 3 sacks against the Titans. Now he's probably not getting 3 sacks every week, but he's about to see a spike, probably an opportunity. And if he can build off that 3 sack game, he's worth a shot here at the edge position.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good call right there. Quentin Williams is gonna open it up for everybody, dude.
Quentin Williams is a beast. Speaking of the defensive line, and you actually already mentioned these two guys, so I will briefly hit them. But Keon White, our number 2 overall defensive lineman, is only rostered in 20% or 26% of sleeper leagues.
Eesh.
4 sacks in 2 games. Obviously, you can't be counting on sacks, but if you need help on the defensive line, he could be right there for you, as is Pat Jones. Pat Jones, Minnesota defensive line, is only rostered in 9% of leagues, and he has 4 sacks through 2 games with 50 points. So, again, D line's boomer busty, but if you do need help along that defensive line, Pat Jones could be your answer. Already talked about Will McDonald, so we're moving on to the linebackers here. This is a name we haven't mentioned yet, but Balin Spector is only rostered in 5% of sleeper leagues. He got
Oh,
10 tackles in relief of Terrell Bernard, who is expected to miss about a month. So Spectre may not be a long-term play, but over the next few weeks, or if you were a Bernard owner and you know how effective he was in the Bills offense, picking up Spectre is probably worth at least a shot right now because it's seeming like he's going to move right into that role. Another linebacker only rostered in 23% of leagues, Henry Toa
oh
for
yeah.
the Houston Texans, 20 tackles in 2 games, and he's played 91 snaps. So just ultimate opportunity there. Could be a solid piece for you in the middle. And then I have 2 defensive backs, which you already mentioned both of them. We got Alante Taylor, only rostered in 24% of leagues. Like I said, I think he has a chance to be an effective nickel all year in terms of fantasy. He's obviously going to be great for the Saints, but in terms of fantasy DBs, he could be effective for you. And the Nick Cross, you should have known this was coming. 21% of rostered in 21% rostered in sleeper leagues, but 29 tackles through 2 weeks with the Colts run defense that seems to get run over by everybody, so he's going to get more opportunities for tackles, and a defensive line that just lost to Forrest Buckner and potentially Laiatu Latu. Yeah,
Oof.
give me Nick Cross. I lost out on him as a bet this week, and it was only by $1, and it was only $1, and I whiffed on that. I should have made him more of a priority, I think,
Yeah. Yeah. Hindsight, man. The waivers bring it out in you.
every time.
I'm with you. Well, I mean, if we're talking waivers and guys that are filling in, um, I think, we've got to highlight some major injuries going
Yeah,
on.
it's been a tough week.
So I guess our next segment is next man up.
Next man
And
up.
let's see what we got. I'm basically looking just to have like a just a discussion about like do you trust the guys? they're sending
Mhm.
out here in these in the steed of everybody. So I don't know. It kind of runs the full gamut. But I guess I'm going to start out with Isaiah Pacheco.
Okay.
Okay. So personally, I'm hearing Kareem Hunt is on the practice squad or something's going on with
Hmm.
Kareem back in town. And you know, here in the Midwest, we like to forgive and forget. You know what I mean? Don't forget not to kick people. That's important. But this dude had 9 rushing touchdowns last year. A lot of people forget that. That's more than Samaje Perine has had in his career. Okay.
Hmm.
And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he's kind of come and gone. Carson Steele,
The fullback.
yeah, really cool story.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, man, if Hunt can get back in the Casey rushing groove, it's going to be something. I think P Ryan's probably going to outtouch him
Hmm.
between the 20s, but I think in the red zone, it's going to be a Kareem Hunt thing. And I trust him, man. I trust him for all you waiver people that beat me by $4 on your bids this morning. Hats off to you, man, because I think you got a good one. I don't know.
I'm excited about it. Hopefully, we'll see. I just needed to take stabs at running back, so I definitely wasn't letting Kareem get out of my sights here just in case. It's also nice to see almost all of my original startup running backs back on my roster. I got to go get Aaron Jones, but Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, all back together again. It's nice,
Impressive.
satisfying.
Heck yeah, man.
But I think I'm with you. I mean, if it's not Hunt, it's P Ryan to me. And I just think P Ryan's ceiling is very, very clearly defined. And the Carson Seal stuff, look, I get it. There's a cool AI image of him out. It's neat. Okay, whatever. I've been wrong a lot lately, so here's another
Ride it.
chance for me to be wrong. But I don't buy into any of this Carson Steele nonsense.
Yeah, it's for the jersey sales, baby, and the
Hmm.
numbers are up. Heck
That's
yeah. So what
fair.
are you feeling on the Rams wide receiver room?
That one's interesting to me. Cooper Cup obviously is a huge deal here. He's not on an IR yet, which is hopefully good. He's probably going to miss a few weeks, but hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But with Puka also on IR, there's a bazillion targets open. Um,
Yeah.
so the two primary beneficiaries there seem to be, in theory, Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson. If I have to pick between those two, honestly, I'm going Demarcus Robinson. I think I I should have earlier. I went Tyler Johnson just because he was younger, that dynasty brain in one of my leagues. But just Robinson's been more productive throughout his career. Um, but here's my thing also is I don't think we can expect anywhere near the production of a Cup or a Puka from these guys. My gut just says no. With Stafford being banged up, now your two best offensive weapons are off the field. And as great as a play caller Sean McVay is, if the if the opposing team has to focus on Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, and Colby Parkinson, I feel like Kyron Williams is the beneficiary there because he's going to get all the work because it's not going to be hard for defenses to lock that down. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I just think people need to temper expectations for these two guys here, and maybe not roll them out immediately. Maybe see how this offense works.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, you nailed it. I pretty much was just thinking Stafford, you know, enhances wide receivers, like he's the ultimate guy for that, but the timeline is just too short and his health isn't 100%. And I draw
Mhm.
the line at 2-2.
Yeah.
And I think the production's going to get absorbed by the running back room. So
Hmm.
I guess that Blake Corum time is now in a share split that should have plenty to go around.
Indeed, I agree with you. Um, What are you thinking about the Niners though? Losing Debo, not having McCaffrey, not having Ricky Parasol, their first round pick, which is really sad. Like, what are we thinking here? Juwan Jennings, Chris Conley. Do we see Jacob Cowing get into the mix maybe a little bit, or is it just more Ayuk and more Kittle?
For this one, I think that I remember some good Ronnie Bell plays from last year. I'm
Hmm.
trying to hold on to that. And then it's got to be Juwan. If you look at the numbers, he only has one fewer target than Brandon Ayuk, but he has 30 more yards than
Oh
him.
wow.
So Ayuk's getting a slow start. They're showing that Jennings is, whatever. I guess he's the wide receiver 2B.
Hmm.
With Debo, it's a clear number one. Kittle's going to eat. He's coming off of a big week, and I think they're just going to keep that rolling as long as they can. Um, but yeah, it's cool that Jordan Mason stepped right up in that CMC role, but I don't know if we're going to get a Debo light that is comparable.
Mm-mm.
But I do think that Ayuk heats up a little bit, and there's no reason for them not to lean on Jennings. So I like that, but I would love to see some Jacob Cowing. I
That'd be
wouldn't bet on
fun.
that,
No,
but
no.
and then Chris Connolly, it's like, what year is it, man?
What are we
What are we
doing?
doing?
Also, just I just we saw what happened with the Niners when Debo was out
Yeah,
last year, and I just feel like a similar thing might happen here, especially not having CMC. So
that was a
uh
tough, tough ass kicking from the Vikings, dude.
yeah, it was.
So that's funny to me.
Um Speaking of the Vikings, Justin Jefferson got hurt, but he might play. He's trying to play, but if he doesn't, what are we feeling about Jalen Naylor? Is he worth it? Can Sam Darnold survive without Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, that's good questions. I like him. I think with Addison, being out there. Last week, Naylor had 93% snap count, and it was a pretty solid game. It was only four targets, but he scored. So actually, I'm real willing to start him in the flex for a hot minute
Okay,
just to see what happens. He's right there. Last week, he was in that, like, I don't know, that Alec Pierce zone.
gotcha.
And so if you're drawing attention that way, you might as well give a little love to Naylor. There's nothing else going on until Hawkinson's back out there. They're gonna need to keep that ball moving, and I think they like him, so let it roll.
Fair enough.
But
Go ahead.
oh, I don't know, man. You brought it up earlier a little bit. Where are we at on Jalen Wright right now? Because
Um,
Raheem Mozart is still out, and I'm kind of freaking out.
you freaking out about Jalen, right?
Yeah, I thought like, hey man, Mozart goes out, let's get a little Jalen Wright. Now he's averaging point 0.8 per carry. I mean,
Well, he did just see his first week. I'm willing to give him another one. I loved that. I mean, Wilson didn't even get really a touch, so
that was a rough game.
yeah, and so I just think Achan is more of a lead dog right now than maybe you and I were anticipating. I think we both been kind of skeptical of that whole thing, and it seemed he's the RB2 on the year. So seems like we were just wrong there. So,
Hmm.
and I think, Jalen Wright, they just were not really good against the Bills either. And so I don't know. It just kind of got out of whack. I'm willing to give it another week. Again, though, I like that he got the primary, secondary touches to H Chan instead of
Yeah.
Wilson. So,
Yep. I just remember a week two Devon A. Chan game last year. Of
yeah.
course it's against the Broncos, but yeah,
Well,
it breaks my heart. I don't want to see McDaniel's crying again. So
yeah.
that's kind of freaking me out. I mean, I just sticking with the Dolphins. Um yeah, so we got Tyler Huntley claimed. I'm
Hmm.
pumped about that.
Yeah.
I think Huntley's got a lot of potential. They're not going to be rolling with the K-Stater for very long, Skylar Thompson. That was kind of impossible to watch the fourth quarter last week, and I don't think it's long before Tyler Huntley's out there. He had a good run with Baltimore a few years back when they needed him, And I'm actually really surprised he wasn't on somebody's active roster. I am excited about that. I thought, hey, Tomlin was going to pull the ultimate move and get Russ down there.
Hmm.
Welcome to Miami, and recoup pretty well on that vet minimum deal they worked out with him. But I don't know if you have thoughts on the Miami quarterback situation. I have a lot, too many.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Skylar Thompson is going to be the starter, but I mean, we've seen him before, and like you're saying, Huntley has been pretty electric every time we've seen him, and I could see them really doing some stuff with him. Mike McDaniel getting a hold of a guy that can move like that, could be pretty interesting. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll see. Skylar is there for now and is at least starting this week, so we got to wait, and then hopefully Huntley can pick up the offense pretty quick. But yeah, interesting stuff for sure.
Big ripples on this
Mhm.
effect.
Um, so another guy that's expected to be out a few weeks, is AJ Brown.
Yes.
And we saw what that did for Devonta Smith Monday night. He had a great game.
Hmm.
Obviously taking over that wide receiver one role. And any hopes I had of a potential Jahan Dotson explosion got thrown out the window when Britton Covey out targeted him 6-1 on Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
And
boy.
my little heart is just breaking over Jahan Dotson because it's over, right?
No, he's
No,
been in Philadelphia for 3 weeks. I'm with
he
you.
should beat out Britton Covey, a punt
Listen,
return specialist. He's a first round pick. I
okay,
don't care. Make him
Covey
run a
caught.
slant every play. Like have him on the field for more than that. I don't know,
He
man.
was he was out there. He was out there. I was watching his number pretty hot, and
Hmm.
I'll give Covey some props. He caught all six of those targets, but he only
Sure.
got 23 yards. Okay.
Hmm.
So this whole offense needs to step up. Dallas Goddard needs to step up. He didn't step up in week
Yeah.
2 with AJ Brown being out. Um, I don't know what's going to happen. I'd be fine if the Eagles just imploded, but I don't trust.
Jeez.
I don't trust Devonta Smith. Like, I just don't trust him, man. I
Mm-hmm.
see him out there and they're like, hey, like you're the guy, and I know he's good at football, but like I don't think that he could prop this team up. And they need that one too. And the tush push still works. You know what? I don't even know what to think anymore. I'm glad the Falcons pulled that one off. That was crazy. But
Yeah, wild ending there.
yeah, definitely wouldn't have gone that way if AJ Brown was out there.
No.
Um, but
Mm-mm.
I gotta say, man, as far as vet wide receivers not being around, Keenan Allen's
Mm.
absence for the Bears, man, he had that 11 target game in week 1, and I thought, hey, we're gonna see some bumps, but DJ Moore and Adunze really had similar roles from week 1 to week 2. The guy that got that bump was Cole Kmet, dude. He went from 1 target to 5. I mean,
Ooh.
that's not nothing. Are we seeing any room for the Kmet? I don't know if he
No,
has a nickname,
I don't
but
think so at all. I just think that game was so broken for what it was some absurd amount of pressures between Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, just an ungodly amount. And so like
mm,
I just think that was more of a he's bailing and that was who he could get the ball to. Keenan Allen being out maybe is going to be a bigger factor than I would have thought originally. I'm hoping that Rome can kind of take that wide receiver two spot, but DJ Moore is not lighting it up like I thought he would. The
he's
best,
got a lot to work with Caleb so far.
yeah, so far I mean, until Caleb really can get it going, and that's a big if the offensive line won't help him out. I'm skeptical of anything here. I have Odunze sitting on the bench in the leagues I have him in, and then DJ Moore I'm starting, but it's starting to get frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he went from 8 targets to 10 targets, so it's not like he's being, left on the shelf. He's
Hmm.
not getting that number one. And I mean number one, I mean when I say that I'm talking like alpha kind of usage that we would expect,
Mhm.
that I was expecting. But neither of us were really anticipating Keenan Allen to have a huge role in this offense. So maybe things just need to settle down. Caleb needs to figure out, that he does need to just hit his second read instead of trying to roll out for nothing. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. I think DJ Moore is having a fine season compared. I mean, if you in perspective with Caleb's performance so far, I'm
Mhm.
optimistic.
Good.
I
I am
guess, I
I
guess.
am too on both of them. All three of them, maybe even Keenan. But yeah, we got to get the offense moving though.
All right.
Um, Last guy I think, unless I'm missing somebody, it's got to be Kenneth Walker with the oblique injury.
Mm.
Really questionable time frame on that return. And Zach Charbonnet has looked good in relief of Kenneth Walker here. So I don't know. Do we see that continuing? I mean, I don't see why not.
I mean, you got to look at it however you want to look at it. Okay. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing, less than 3 yards per carry,
That is
but
rough.
catching 5 for 5 through the air and ending up with a RB 8 week. And I'm like, I'm sorry, am I looking at Zach Charbonnet or Rashad White's numbers right now? Because this is getting a little out of control. Obviously, we are big Charb heads, have been for a long time since
hmm
the old school. He was a box score boomers love of mine. Um, so I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see what he can do. That number it was like 2.8 yards per carry. That's got to be on the up. So. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I gotta tell you though, a lot of folks out there in your waivers, you're wasting picks on Britton Strange because my boy Evan Ingram's gonna come back out and tell you guys that he's sorry about that. He wishes he could personally pay you back your fab, but he can't because that was your bad.
Yeah, that's fair. I hope Evan Ingham can play it. I have him in a couple leagues, redraft specifically, so I really need him because I stupidly paired him with TJ Hawkinson twice, and so
Well,
now I'm just it's been tough. Uh, so we'll see. I really hope you're right. I hope he can get back to it because we saw how effective he was last year with Trevor, and I think that'll open up the offense altogether.
yeah, it's kind of a missing link. So I hope it works out. We'll see.
All right.
But
Well,
that's
speaking
that.
of box
Next
score
man.
boomers.
Oh, yes, of course. The box score is not booming this week, guys.
Yeah,
I got to tell
bit
you,
quiet.
we've seen a lot of pretty substantial performances. Last week we brought you a 267-yard rushing game and a 304-yard receiving game. And that just didn't happen. 153 was the top rusher, 174 was the top receiver. These quarterbacks kind of take it or leave it. So I'm gonna go. I'm pivoting. I'm gonna pivot and I'm going local. I'm going hometown here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start off with the University of Kansas running back, Devin Neal. I think he
hmm
deserves some love. Um, he is having a decent week. It was 120 yards on 23 carries, about 5.2 yards per carry, and it was a loss in UN versus UNLV. 3-point loss is kind of heartbreaking. The Jayhawks need to get it tightened up a little bit this year. But he's a hell of a football player. He's coming off back to back over 1,000-yard seasons. Last year was 1,280 yards with 16 touchdowns. He does pretty well as a receiver as well. The good size on him is 5'11", 215,
Mm.
and he is a senior, so he'll be out there in the world next year. I think he's going to get some pretty decent draft capital. PFF's got him at 108 on
Mm.
the big board, which is not like a super impressive number, but it keeps him in like the top 8 at the running back position. So um, I think, yeah, it's a name you'll all hear, know, and love. I know we're all getting pretty hyped about Jayhawks in the NFL after after what Jason Bean is doing as a backup in Indianapolis. So keep looking for that. But a little more high profile, getting into Luther Burden, Missouri wide receiver. And their win 27-21 to Boston College. He had 6 catches for 117 yards and a single score. So that's 19 and a half yard average. And he's a pretty hot commodity.
Mhm.
Junior, 5'11", 208, coming off of a pretty great 2023 where he had 1,200 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. He is all up on that PFF big board, ranking at number 7 overall. So you're going to see a lot coming out of him. He's a number 2 wide receiver on the big board. So that size is kind of getting to be decent. 5'11" is a little
Mhm.
short, but he's over that 200 and that 200-pound number. So he's a little feisty, a physical guy, pretty quick too. So pumped about him. These guys I've seen quite a bit of ball out of, and they both play really well. So I'm excited to see what they have coming up. But really, come on, college, week 4. Give me some guys 300 receiving yards, give me some 200-yard rushers. This is not what we're looking for in the
It's weak
boomers.
sauce for
Yeah,
the
we want to
box
see
score
some
boomers.
fireworks. Seriously.
I'm with you, but yeah, I like Devin Neal too. Hopefully, he'll be able to gain some traction and maybe jack up that draft stock. And I'll have to check out the second one as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, there you have it. There is our week 2 review, and we will be hitting you next week with some more new segments. We'll hit you with the top 12 wide receivers, I think, is what we're
Yeah.
doing for sure, and your rookie roundup, like we always do. So hopefully you will join us, like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, stay awesome. You don't have a choice.
I took a lease out on your heart.